Hey Maggie, hope that you're doing well, and a little bit of a change of scenery here with I'm actually traveling, I guess technically on vacation, but obviously still working um, in Maine. So forgive the different background and hopefully the glare is not too much. But without further ado, I want to share my screen and get right to feedback on your FD2. So let me just share my screen here. Always takes me a second. Here we go. Okay, so as you can see with the overall score here, we have a 91, which is really, I know it's a couple points step down from our FD1, which is not really a big deal, but uh, sorry, I was trying to make this thing. Okay, here we go. Wanted to make sure that the live transcript was being recorded. So I will provide that file as well. Um, for whatever reason, I still can't get Zoom to, it only does a live transcript. So it doesn't record, as far as I can tell, the transcript on the screen. So the text file is the best version I can provide on that. So a 91, a couple points of a step down from our FD1, not a big deal, but it's particularly impressive because this critical analysis paper, I mean, I'm not going to say it's far more difficult than a personal narrative. I think personal narratives are just as challenging in many ways, in different ways than a critical analysis. But when it comes to critical analysis, structures like central claim and analysis organization and subclaims and all that stuff that we talked about, that stuff I think takes a little more time to incorporate. The fact that personal narratives tend to follow, I guess, what I would call a kind of more natural, if you will, or organic kind of structure and rhythm and pacing. Again, I'm not going to say, I think it comes a little more easier, slightly more easier than a sort of argumentative analysis. Because an argumentative analysis, you really got to sort of organize critical thinking, right? You're really doing kind of in-depth and detailed structured thinking, or at least you're doing the thinking and then you need to structure it in the paper. That is always challenging, particularly when we're in a 6-week summer course with such a condensed schedule. And you have, as you can see by the rubric here, really handled that well. I mean, we have, the effective central claim, we have organization, everything in the effective range, and clarity of prose and revision in the excellent range. So all really well handled. In fact, the one couple overall comments that I would make would just be that subclaims is something we would, if you're going to continue to write another one of these critical analysis papers, or if you're going to use this for your video essay, which I know you think you're considering, making sure we have more distinct analytical points in each of our subclaims. We tend to sort of repeat the same idea about empathy over and over and over again. And that's great as a key term of your central claims argument, but we want to make sure that our subclaims have more distinct and detailed analytical points about how all these different elements, whether there's sort of interviews with Jane's different sides, or the editing element, they should be having different effects and different consequences upon the viewers from your point of view that will make those subclaims more distinct, and then make each of your analysis paragraphs more effective and more distinct. It allows the argument analysis to have more nuance, right, and to have more depth from paragraph to paragraph. So we're not just repeating empathy, 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 empathy. So as you can see here, I've highlighted things similarly the way I did with the personal narrative. Green means things that are working quite well, where the argument or analysis is really sort of having an impact and effectively handled, effectively structured and clear. Yellow can be just small things that I'm pointing our attention to, or sort of larger considerations for revision. So we do a great job of setting up. I mean, you have a wonderful writing style. It's clear, it's direct, it's lucid, it has a sense of rhythm and style. We saw that in your personal narrative as well. And you're setting up the context here. I mean, we can get that Glenn Close quote, but as we talked about as well, in terms of the WD2, bringing in a little bit of the information about the show itself, or the documentary, I should say, documentary series itself, The one thing I thought we could do is bring in, you mentioned the stigmas, which is great, that have been associated particularly with psycho, and I haven't seen Split, that there's a long sort of history of a stigmatization in mass media of people with mental health issues. That they're murderers, that they're all axe murderers, or they're crazy. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, another one. I thought we could take another sentence or two. The reason why this is yellow, it's not a problem with Jane as stated. I like bringing in Jane's statement on her Facebook page, but I thought we could take just another sentence or two here to talk about that stigma. What's the problem with that stigma? It's obvious, but you want to sort of say directly, what is the problem with these stigmas is that, mainstream society, if you will, and people who don't struggle with mental illness or mental health issues really have a hard time connecting and understanding and appreciating and having empathy for those who have it. That's the danger of stigmas, right? And also the danger is this kind of sensationalization and this kind of dramatizing of mental health as something that's either for entertainment or as something that is sort of inhuman. So setting up a little bit more of that will allow the significance of your central claim to step forward that much more. And that's why I have a little bit of yellow down here. I almost thought we could reorder it a little bit, right? Many sides of Jane's uses unashamed conversations to effectively help lessen the stigma around the world's most mental illnesses while avoiding glamorizing or sensationalizing Jane's symptoms. In turn, the documentary helps spread awareness of mental illness and mental health issues to help people who do not suffer from mental illness and to foster a stronger sense of empathy with those who do. I almost thought those things could be in terms of, because that larger idea, it's not a big problem or anything. It's just, and you should remember that central claim in the rubric means not just the central claim statement, but the overall argument of the piece as a whole. It's just a small thing that I thought we could reorganize. Now, you're going to see when it comes to the support paragraphs, I'm often highlighting half your subclaims in yellow and half in green. What that usually is signifying is that we have a clear element here. So we have the use of interviews with Jane, but we're just repeating the same analytical point in each. The simplest way of the documentary fosters empathy, another method used by the documentary to accomplish its purpose. We're not getting distinct analytical points, therapy sessions, but the same thing. Documentary demonstrating Jane's struggle. When we talked about those analytical points in our subclaims, we want a distinct sense of effect and consequence in each. So again, here we get gives the document more credibility. There we're getting a different kind of analytical point, just slightly. And so that one I thought was more effective. So that's what you're seeing in the half yellow, half green. Do a great job with the counter argument paragraph here. Really well done, well handled. I know that was one of the things that you sort of had early on, even in your discussion boards. I think we were doing prying eyes, and you had this thought about the way in which the documentary does seem to have some problem. And I think it really strengthens your argument because it gives you credibility in terms of you saying like, look, not everything's perfect here. There's some problems with this documentary, but let's go. All in all, or overall, we do have a really important starting of a conversation that is still not being had. And then the other thing with the conclusion here, and I'm going to get back to some other things with the development in just a second and the analysis. So those things about analytical points are really about analysis and organization when it comes to the rubric. Now, when it comes to the conclusion, I just thought we could bring back a little bit more context, bring back some more of that's the context of the stigma, bring back perhaps another couple of statistics or even outside quotes regarding stigma surrounding mental health. So I thought we could do a little bit more of that in terms of conclusion to give it a little more depth and open up that larger significance a little bit more. Now, when it comes to the support and development, that's really about, specific details. So for examples and evidence coming directly from the documentary. So here you're talking about like therapy sessions, but you don't get any quotes or any sort of direct moments from the actual documentary. I'm not sure if it was you, but I think it was talking about like how much details do you want to put in a lot. That should be the majority of your support paragraph, should be these specific details. So I think I said in each, well, I know I said in each, you want at least 2 specific pieces of evidence and examples. And evidence and examples would be, direct quotes from particular scenes, or talking specifically about, in one scene, right, Jane is sitting on the couch and her therapist is sitting, whatever, and this happens. Getting real detailed evidence and examples. So again, here, we have interviews with a psychologist. We're not getting any quotes from these interviews. So that way we want those specifics to come into play there. Here we're talking about the way it's editing. We get a little bit more detail here. But again, with this paragraph, we're talking about interviews with Jane, but we get no, real quotes or different detailed moments of those interviews. So that's why you're seeing yellow in the middle of those paragraphs. It's really about getting more developmental detail. And that's something, if you decide to use this FD2 for your video essay, making sure we get specific examples and evidence directly from the documentary, even using screenshots to create visual aids in relation to, or visual references in relation to, those different pieces of evidence and examples from the documentary. Still, Maggie, it's been great to work with you. We're not quite done yet. We have that video essay, but really some impressive work. And let's stay energized for this last week. We're almost there. And I really look forward to that video essay. As always, let me know if you have any questions or concerns. And like I said, it's been great to work with you. Take care.